Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're asking, are you losing money because you're not pricing right? It's our second session on this topic. And today I'm joined by Graham Potts, who's a chartered accountant and managing director at our accounting firm, Wessex Commercial. With an eye for numbers and years of hands-on business and pricing experience in various sectors, Graham is great at looking for ways to improve margins, profits, and cash. As we go through today, if you've got any questions, if you're on live, pop them in the comments and we'll try and pick those up as we go along. Graham, today I know you want to show business owners some examples about pricing. So why are they so important for us to look at today?
Thanks, Linda, and welcome everybody. As I mentioned last time when we did the sort of first session on pricing, it is an art form and very dependent on market conditions and your ability to service that market. There's so many different things to consider. So it's vital that you don't just accept that you price everything the same way. And it's also vital to understand that prices forced on you by a large company, government or whatever, but usually company, large corporate, may not always be best for you. And they may lead to losses overall. As a well-known saying, turnover is vanity, profits is sanity, and cash is reality. So cash is king.
Absolutely. So what do you want to talk about today, Graham?
Three main areas to consider with pricing. There are many more, but just there's three main ones I want to look at. Last time we discussed the normal way to price. So I want to show some examples on the effect of your pricing on turnover and profits, which can turn sort of loss-making or small profitable businesses into ones that are making really decent returns. I will then take that example and show how to break it down into different component parts. Then I'll look at changing those let's call it category mix, how the category mixes can turn, if you focus on a different category or a different part of the business, it can naturally lead to better profits. And then I'm going to show you the effect of small increases to sales and small decreases to costs, how that has a massive effect on increasing profits, increasing your bottom line.
Absolutely. So shall we get straight to the first example, Graham?
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay, so this example is, example one. This is a business that has only been trading for about 5 years and grown very fast, and now has sales of 1.2 million, and a bottom line loss of 50,000. Now, previously they were making profits, but the recent growth has turned from a profit into a loss. The question is, why and what can they do about it?
Okay, it's worrying, isn't it? Why do you think that's happened?
Number of reasons that could explain it. Maybe they took on extra costs, such as new premises, maybe staff members, say like a salesman, but the sales haven't really kicked in yet. Maybe they've lost a good customer, or haven't put their prices up to increase all the increased costs that's happened over the previous 12, 18 months. Mm-hmm. Or maybe sales are being generated in low margin products, services, customers or markets. So actually the growth has come into what I would say low margin works rather than the higher margin works.
Okay. Can you explain more what you mean about lower margin products, markets, etc.?
Yes, I can. Well, if we take that example and we'll break it down into three main categories. Okay. So if you can put up example 2. There, right. We have broken the 1.2 sales down into these three categories. Now, this could be different products, different services, customer groups or markets, etc. Let's just say for this instance, let's say it's in the retail, where category 1 is your own website. And then category 2 is you use a selling agent that charges you 12.5% on your sales. And category 3 is where there's a selling agent that charges 33.3% on your sales. And we've what we've done, we split out those selling fees so you can see the effect on the profits, the gross profit and the net profit. Now, for those watching the session, think about your own business and how you would break it down. Because, like say, for instance, maybe if you're maintenance, it could be projects, planned maintenance, and unplanned maintenance. Because on maintenance, I often see that call-outs are one of the biggest issues, unplanned call-outs. So you have to understand where you are and where you're not making money. Otherwise, you could be pushing the wrong, in this instance, the wrong selling agent. You know, what's the point in pushing category 3 if you're going to lose money? So whatever you do, always try and break this profit and loss down into these small, meaningful chunks. Often I see it's either, most of the time, it's no breakdown, which is not good. You've got to understand your profit and loss and break it down into areas of the business. And sometimes I see so much information, people can't see the wood from the trees.
Yeah. And it does show a massive loss in category 3. How have you allocated the overheads?
Well, for simplicity, I've done it on sales, for simplicity. But overheads should be really broken down and split on your direct costs. Because this is usually because, for instance, the more direct employees you have in one area, the more the admin costs of looking after it. If you're in retail, it could be with premises. If you're selling, different widgets in different selling portals, then the cost of space is proportional to the cost of the product, and not what you sell them at. However, for today's purposes, I thought I'd just keep it simple. We'll just do it on sales.
Okay, I understand that. What can this business do to turn the loss into profits?
Well, there's various ways, but each business has has different characteristics. However, first, I would always stress that the business owner has to realise that things are not right, and then want to do something to break it, to do something about it, and then ask for help to break down and find out what's happening in the business. It's easy enough just to cut overheads or to cut staff, but actually most of the time, you're making or losing money. It's in your direct costs of how you split it, not on your overheads. So let's take an example. Sorry, I lost me track. Let's have a look at whether we can move the categories around and sort of actually focus on the more profitable businesses, which is category 1 and 2. So if we do that, we look at so we got. Sorry, I think we're just moving on. We should be moving on to another slide.
Sorry, we're pushing that £600,000 worth of sales.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting confused there. So the 600. Apologies, people. The 600,000, right? Say if we could bring that into category 1 and category 2, that will actually increase your profits, because the margin, as you can see, the gross profit margin along the line, it's 50% and 37.5. On category 3, because of the large selling fees, we're at 16.79. So what you want to do is focus more on category 1 and 2 if you can. I'm not saying you can, but have a look. You're losing money in category 3. Now, if we can increase the sales like that, then we could get to something where, say, for instance, we could place it all over onto category 1 and 2. If we can have the next slide, please, Linda. And then what happens in this, as a simple example, I know it's not real life, but what we've got here is that in category 1, we've doubled sales. In category 2, we've doubled sales at the same margins. Now, this isn't sometimes what happens. Generally, category 3, you need to keep something. So this is just an extreme example. It's only to show you that suddenly you've gone from loss making into profit. So basically, overall, we had a 50,000 loss, and now we've gone into 100,000 profit.
And it's a huge change. I think I probably know the answer to this question, but is it that easy to implement?
It takes time. It's not, it's not a one size fits all. With the right help in analysing the business and understanding where you're not making money, that can help. I think the biggest issue I can say is the owners leave it too late. So they contact us when, sort of suddenly they've run out of cash. They're not thinking they're not making money because maybe they haven't got the up-to-date management accounts. I keep on stressing, have up-to-date management accounts, because how the hell do you know what's happening in the business? Business changes so quickly. Prices changes, competition changes, everything's so fast now. You've got to have up-to-date management information to see where you're not making money, so you can adapt. So often we get called in when, I get called in when it's too late. The wall's at the door. There's not enough time.
And it's sad, isn't it? That happens. So the message is, if you feel or heading, the business is heading that direction or is getting in some trouble, get help straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Always get help.
Yeah. Perhaps you can give us an example of how people joining us today can look at their business.
Yeah. Yes, as I said earlier, let's look at how a business is made up of different parts and the effect of small increases to sales and decreases to costs. So if we take the same example, right, that we started with. So, and I'm going back to example 1, where we turn over 1.2 million and we're making a 50,000 loss. Now, just to say, you can change each of those by 5%. Now, that's increasing the income by 5%. So say by raising raising prices, and then decreasing costs. So if we can decrease the costs by 5%, then the overall changes actually on that scenario, as you can see in the example, means you've got an extra 122,000 profit for doing nothing. So you turn a 50,000 loss into 72,500 profit. Now, if you look at it, the biggest change is in direct costs and income. That's where to focus. It's overheads. Everybody can focus on overheads. Everyone understands that, but not a lot of people understand looking at the direct costs and the income, and that's the key area to make your business very profitable. It's vital. Yeah, basically you understand that. Otherwise, your margins get eroded, and like I said, it's so easy to move from profit to loss.
Yeah. And it's a massive change, isn't it? For only 5%, does it have to be a similar percentage across the board?
No, this is just an example to show people. You'll be something. So, like, it could be you could increase different. You could be on, like, for income. Yeah, you're in contracts, so you may be like some are long-term contracts, so you can't increase them, but you can put your pricing up on others. You look at where you can put pricing up. As we've all gone through, I've gone through anyway. But with the costs, it could be 2% there, 1% there, 10% there. It's a mixture, but it's just the effect. It's just to understand that a 5% in this particular example, 5% turns a 50,000 loss into a 72,500 profit.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? At the moment, you mentioned eroding. The erosion of profits or the erosion of margins, and people who've not changed their prices over the last few years will really be seeing their profits squeezed as a result.
Exactly, and they've been forced. You hear it from the big, sort of supermarkets, pressure not to increase prices. Well, their costs have gone up, so it is that there's that pressure. It's also in your head that I can't put my prices up because of this. You've got to look at your business and say, where are you making money? Where you're not making money? Some you may keep your profit, keep your pricing the same. Some you may increase it. Some, if you could get it more efficient, you might be able to reduce it. But you have to keep on looking at this. And as it gets into less demand with more supply, because we've been in a case of over demand. Now we could be in a position of oversupply. People will be pressing down to get cheaper prices. So you've got to look at how to do things smarter and be more efficient.
So Graham, the question I've got for you is, what do business owners need to do now?
Yeah, I keep on saying that it's vital that business owners understand their numbers. You see it on Dragon's Den all the time. Talk me through the numbers. Do you understand your profit and loss account? That includes breaking the direct costs down into, well, having the split between direct costs and overheads correctly. The number of times I see of accounts where wages are all in one figure, either above the line, down below the line, but they don't split out the admin, the office, the non-productive with the productive wages. So you've got to understand your numbers, because this will help you to understand where to price profitably, and you also need to see how that matches to your profit and loss account. So when you price, you're estimating. When you come back, you've got to have a look at what the actuals are. And I keep on saying, with the market volatility that we've had, where prices rose fast and potentially could fall, you need to have this information. Once you look at your pricing, understanding, once you've looked at all your pricing, break down your profit and loss into chunks so you can see where you're making money and not making money. Then take every heading and see where you can make changes to reduce costs or become more efficient. Do you really need it? I see so many times where people have just got costs carrying on, especially, sort of like phones, mobile phones, and, where it's going on, and actually they're out of contract, but they're still paying the same amount. Take every heading, like I said, and see where you can make changes. To do that, you really need a good accounting system. We advocate Xero because it's in the cloud. You can get access to it, but it also links with different apps, so you can get very, very good information out of it. It can give you, if you set it up right and you run it right, it can give you very good, meaningful numbers, which you need to run your business in today's changing world. And it can also see where you're making money and where you're not, what your margins really are against what you had planned.
Yeah.
Always look for other ways to increase your margins, or and save cash. For instance, can you negotiate? It's basically supply. When you had sort of been buying previously, it's actually sort of the customer's been in the ascendancy. Now, sort of it's like change it around. It's the market's changing. So can you negotiate with suppliers for better prices, better delivery times? Can you see if there's any, can you get, say, for instance, stock, on a sell or return? So have stock holdings where you're not buying it until you've actually sold it. Yep. And also make sure your labour force are productive. So keep on looking at how they're making against what you expect them to make, how quickly it takes them to make something, or to produce something, to, service something. Basically, in today's changing world, good management information and support you need as a business owner to help you make the right decisions for you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any of those issues that we've covered today resonate with you, and you want to have a no obligation chat with Graham on a one-to-one basis, pop an email over to chatwithgraham@westsexcommercial.com, and we'll set up that meeting. And next time we are sort of hitting the big topic, really. We're saying recession-proof your business. So join us for that at 12:30 on Monday, the 6th of March. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you.